Okay, so I wanted to talk to you guys about sovereign citizenship and what it really means. Because a lot of people, no one I don't think anyone really understands what the hell sovereign citizenship is. Some people go and listen to, what's that guy's name? David Wynn Miller. I read David Wynn Miller's stuff. It finally made sense after a while when I finally figured it out what the hell he was saying. But I don't think his method is really relevant to understanding what sovereign citizenship really is. What you need to understand for sovereign citizenship is that sovereign citizenship is a indication that you are, it's essentially a jurisdiction, right? It's a legal jurisdiction that you are a sovereign human being and that the government can't, essentially infringe on your rights because you are sovereign, because you are an American. And since you are born in America, according to everyone else's laws, you are essentially the same as royalty, thus sovereign. Because, our laws state that we are sovereign, that we are the same as kings. We have the right to own property, we have the right to not get screwed over by the government, etc. Um, so, because of these rights, we are essentially the same as royalty, at least according to the fictitious, legalese, fraudulent law that our system of governance currently runs under. The fiat black magic practicing judges, or fiat enforcing black magic practicing judges that wear black robes because they practice black magic, who place bars on you, which is essentially a synonym for hex. They're putting curses on you, and their power comes from their ability to enforce curses. It's all illegal. It's all fraudulent. It's all a scam created by the people who created the legal matrix, because that's essentially what we live in. We live in a legal matrix where a judge can disregard the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution of the United States of America, because the Illuminati, the criminals, our government, in 1788 redeclared the United States, or was it 1877. In 1877, redeclared our republic as a corporation. And because we are now a corporation, we are under corporate law. And all judges in all of America, everywhere, have illegally, vindictively been upholding this corporate law over our natural rights. And that is essentially all you need to understand sovereign citizenship, because sovereign citizenship is essentially where you're redeclaring that, no, actually, I do have these rights. I'm not a slave of the system. My name, that is a corporation, because your name is a corporation, I will not represent my name because it is a corporation. I am a man, an individual. I'm not a monster. I am sovereign, more or less. And as a result, when you are sovereign, you're not allowed to, or the judge is not allowed to throw you in jail for not paying your taxes, because that is human trafficking. Or a judge is not allowed to throw you in jail because you're in contempt of court, because that is human trafficking. These are Luciferian human traffickers who practice black magic. And all of the bailiffs who sit there and allow this to go on are also breaking the law and are also criminals, because they're not upholding their common law jurisdiction which applies to every police officer on the planet, that they are supposed to stop tyrants, essentially, from enforcing a tyranny, which is what the judges do. But because it's all a fraudulent system, because it is all a scam to enforce the legal matrix, which keeps lawyers having a job, more or less, because, when a lawyer represents you, they're representing your corporation, and the reason why that works a lot better is because suddenly it becomes a limited liability. A limited liability where your lawyer represents you and you take all the blame. Fun system. It's totally fraudulent, totally illegal, totally against the Constitution, totally against the Declaration of Independence. Every cop in the nation, if you are paying attention to this, you really should do your job and uphold your common law jurisdiction. That judges cannot do this, that they cannot disregard the Declaration of Independence, which you should have read, and the Constitution, which you should have read, because they are both legal documents and they both establish the legal basis of common law in the United States of America that you are supposed to enforce. But you don't enforce it, so you're not a cop, you're a rent-a-cop working for a corporation. And as a result, you don't deserve any respect, because you're not respectable. You're not upholding your duty as a respectable policeman who has a jurisdiction under common law to stop criminals, aka the federal government, federal judges, and judges, local judges too, who are all enforcing a tyrannical dictatorial regime by the Federal Reserve banking cartel, which is a fraudulent banking system, to enforce a tyranny. And you are supporting this tyranny, which means that you are going to go to jail for failing to do your job properly. And if you don't go to jail, hopefully God will send your soul to hell, where you will suffer 10 times worse. Just like these judges, who should all go to hell because they are criminals. And they are the biggest criminals. They are worse than criminals. Okay, the judges and police officers are worse than criminals because they're actually criminals that tell you they're enforcing the law. Now, this is like, that's Stalin Nazi crap. So, sovereign citizenship is essentially, you are sovereign. You are a sovereign citizen right now. You don't have to apply for sovereign citizenship. Everyone is a sovereign citizen, and the only way, but the thing is, a sovereign citizenship doesn't work unless people actually understand it, particularly police officers who understand that when someone refuses to represent their name, they're refusing to represent a corporation that is illegitimate in the first place. But cops don't understand this because cops are now being recruited to have lower IQs than they should have, even though intelligence is the #1 trait for doing detective work. These cops are essentially have 90 IQs. This was totally going on because they're saying, oh, well, cops get bored. So we want to make sure that they're dumb so that they won't get as bored with the job. Of course, really, it's just to enforce tyranny. They want dumb police officers who can't figure out how to solve cases because they don't want cases to be solved. They want to control the narrative of whatever case is going on, wherever it is. So this is rampant criminality, and this is essentially what the sovereign citizenship argument is that you cannot disobey the Constitution of the United States. It is a legal document. It is a document we have agreed to. It has laws in it that are very clear that, for example, the right to bear arms is very clear in the Constitution. The right to freedom of speech, freedom of assembly is very clear. These are called rights, and the reason they are called rights is because I am right and you are wrong. And in a court of law, that is just the way it goes. I am right, the judge is wrong. That's why they're called rights. So all of these cops and all of these who are fascists, these cops have become fascists, these judges have become fascist in our nation, and the American people have been duped into a fraudulent system because of their belief in American exceptionalism, that we're somehow different. I do believe that America, the United States of America, is different. I will be proven right or wrong, depending whether we actually fall into another civil war or not, because that seems to be what is happening. According to Infowars, the California Senate has passed legislation that is going to essentially have cops come over and take all our guns, which is, I don't know about you. I do know that there's quite a few people who share my opinion. I'm not going to surrender my guns. I don't know anyone else who's going to surrender their guns, because as soon as you surrender your guns, that's, basically like, do you want to go to the gas chambers? Do you want to die? Do you want to be killed like Jews were exterminated in 1942? I do not. So if any of these fascist police officers come around to my neck of the woods and are like, oh, we're going to take your guns because it's our fraudulent corporate law says we should take your guns, even though there's a Second Amendment that says, that the Second Amendment more or less says that we should have the ability to fly jet fighter planes, in my opinion. And, that would make sense. We should have militias with jet fighters. We should have militias with maybe not so much in bombs and missiles. Although, why not? Because there's really no threat. This gun legislation, or this gun control debate that claims that we are, that we're so dangerous, is all a psyop. It's a giant psyop because of the Aurora shooting. Sandy Hook were both inside jobs. Sandy Hook is blatantly, obviously, an inside job. I mean, they have these actors who come out on stage and say, my family was killed, and none of them cry. Not a single one of them cries. So what does that mean? That means that they're Illuminati actors. They are the lowest form of life. These Sandy Hook family members, or alleged family members of, alleged victims. Probably there are some legitimate people whose children were killed in Sandy Hook, but in all honesty, even if that did happen, even if all 22 were killed, this was obviously an Illuminati psyop, which means that there was no Loeffner going in there and shooting anyone. Probably these kids were taken away to some dungeon somewhere, some house, Illuminati-controlled house, where they were sacrificed ritualistically in Illuminati rituals, because that's what the Illuminati does. They do ritualistic sacrificial magic. What else? So that whole thing just shows that these events are essentially fake, and that there's a narrative going on by the federal government, the criminal fascist federal government, to enforce the ideology that we Americans are so nuts that we can't handle our guns. Of course, this is rampantly illogical when we look at statistics that show that people who live where there's more guns, there's less crime, because guns deter crime. This is a statistical fact, and the media is lying. I mean, Obama came out and said 90% of people support background checks, when at the same time there's a report out there that says 28% of Americans, that's more than 1 in 4 Americans, supports or is willing. And this is the thing. This is the thing. We have to remember, there's a lot of people who will go to these statistics and not do it because they're scared, because they're afraid to say, oh, the government's going tyrannical. But 28% of Americans are willing to say the government is going tyrannical. Okay, so the government is going totally tyrannical, and I don't care what Bill Maher says, you know, that disinfo agent, or all these people on, oh God. I mean, like, listening to these jokers, these are all people on the way out, you know. When this whole thing goes up that the Illuminati is real, when it becomes universally accepted that the Illuminati is real, that the 9/11 was an inside job, people are going to start waking up, and all of these losers, these Bill Maher people that go on Bill Maher losers, these fake liberals, are going to be nobodies. They're going to be nothing. Because the people who stand with the truth are going to be the people who are going to be listened to, and the people who don't stand with the truth are the people who are going to be ignored. And since these people obviously do not stand with the truth, since they are obviously promoting an agenda of the New World Order agenda, the Illuminati agenda, these people are going to be nobodies fairly soon. And that is a very nice thing, because I'm really sick of listening to these nobodies talk about stuff that is irrelevant. Because the stuff that's relevant, you know, like 9/11 being an inside job is relevant. Sandy Hook, somewhat relevant. The Illuminati, the financial catastrophes that are happening. I mean, I was watching CNBC, and they were saying that gold's gone down, which shows that the market is, you know, is doing great, except that's totally not true at all, because as we found out, this was actually a paper money pump and dump scheme by the central banks, who were essentially selling paper gold to bring the price down. And the only reason it works is because they control the credit market, and they control the fraudulent system that is the global banking system. And because they control that, they can manipulate their credit by pumping fake paper gold into the system to bring the price down. So now is a great time to buy gold, because probably after people realize this is a fraudulent pump and dump scheme, gold is going to skyrocket past 2,000 easy. And then everyone's going to go, oh my God, what's going on? And once it goes to 2,000, it's going to skyrocket even further, because people are going to realize it's a scam, that this financial system is totally fraudulent. Speaking of which, the Bitcoin right now is doing excellent. Mike Adams reported that the Bitcoin was going to not be used anymore, that it was going to fail, or that it has failed after the crash, and it is currently at 147. So I'm going to say that Mike Adams was wrong, that the Bitcoin is quite alive and doing quite well, and is going to continue to do well, and now that it's at 147, is just going to go into another bubble before that bubble pops. And then it's going to crash, but wherever it crashes is going to be way up from where it is now, from the 120 that I was predicting. I was predicting 120 because I am a Bitcoin miner, and as a Bitcoin miner, I am not willing to sell my Bitcoins for anything less than 120, and neither is any other Bitcoin miner out there with the current price of the Bitcoin. So that's, and we could clearly see the Bitcoin charts. They just they go down to 50, and then they just sort of go up and then level out at 120, and now have gone back up past 120 because people realize that it's stabilized at a reasonable rate. And this more or less proves what I had been theorizing, which is that the Bitcoin price is dictated by the Bitcoin miners and whatever they are willing to sell their Bitcoins for. Because they are the economic generators of the Bitcoin economy. When I create Bitcoins with my graphics card, I've already paid for my graphics card 12 times over since I started Bitcoin mining a year ago, at least. And with the price going up, you know, it's going to be 100 times, you know, more. So the Bitcoin market is the most lucrative market in the world. And all of this is going to contribute to destroying this fraudulent legal system that is our current legal system, and replacing it with true sovereignty for each individual on the planet. And that is a good thing. It is time for this masquerade that America, which has been duped into, the American people have been duped into becoming a tyranny, just like the Germans, because we're essentially in the equivalent of Nazi Germany in 1936. It's the end of the line. These people have essentially declared with the Boston thing that they are going to go full martial law. And if this gun thing is true on that they are going to ban all semi-autos in California, the revolution, I do believe, is going to start in California first. Because no one should give up their guns. Giving up your guns is committing suicide, and that is, well, you know, if you want to kill yourself, you might as well just take your gun and blow your brains out now. If not, don't give up your guns. Because guns are what we use to kill fascists. And anyone who says differently is full of crap. So, yes, the only way sovereign citizenship is actually going to work is when people realize that what sovereign citizenship is, that the legal system is fraudulent, that these judges are clearly black magic practitioners, as is apparent by their attire, which is a robe, a woman's dress, a black woman's dress to practice black occultic magic, and that their black occultic magic only works because the police officers are so stupid they don't know how to enforce the law and allow the judges to get away with murder. Don't worry though, your soul has been tainted, and if you do not get, if the American people, if the world does not get some sort of compensation for your vindictive, fraudulent nature, I'm fairly sure that God has a very special place placed out for you in hell, where you're going to rot for a very long time to think about what you did when you failed to uphold the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, and when you failed to do the right thing by the men and women of our armed forces who have died for freedom in this country, who have died for the Constitution, who have died for the Declaration of Independence. You have failed them miserably, and as such, your soul is worthless. And a worthless soul either gets thrown away or it gets trained up to become a more decent soul. And if hell really does exist, that's what it's for. So, cops, you know, every time you allow the judge to fuck people over to enforce tyranny, just remember that you're going to get 10 times worse in hell for not enforcing the law. And the law is the Constitution. It's not what the judge says the law is. The judge can say a lot of things about the law is, and they're just saying bullshit nowadays. They're saying bullcrap. And it's not what the politicians in Congress say either. It is what is written in the Declaration of the Constitution and in Declaration of Independence. And you're like, oh, well, the judicial branch has judicial review. Yeah, that would be true if the judicial branch wasn't a corporation. If it was a republic, then yes, there would be legitimate judicial review, but there is no legitimate judicial review because the United States of America has been turned into a fraudulent corporation. And by holding this fraudulent corporation that is not a republic and saying it is, by common law, you are committing gross negligence and fraud, which is, you know, jail time sentenceable. So all cops out there, learn what the hell sovereign citizenship is. Learn about the fraudulent corporate law. Learn how the United States of America was turned into a corporation shortly after the Civil War because Abraham Lincoln was assassinated and the Illuminati was able to get away with murder by literally murdering the Constitution. Which means that any law past the 13th Amendment is irrelevant because it is not legal. It's not, or it's not lawful. Lawful is the key word there. It's a corporate policy. It is corporate policy past the 13th Amendment, which is kind of ironic since the 13th Amendment states, unless one is punished, unless one has committed a crime, indentured servitude shall be illegal in all of the United States. So, and it's very simple, straightforward. It says that slavery is illegal. And since this fascist corporate law that these black magic practitioners that call themselves judges, who are totally dishonorable practically the second they sit on the bench. I mean, they don't know it, some of them, but some of them are Masons and do know it. And some of you cops out there are Masons and know this stuff too. Don't worry, again, you're going to rot in hell. You know, you Illuminati people out there who think that you can get away with anything. Yes, that has appeared to be true on this plane of reality. But believe me, Jesus is watching you. And Lucifer does not love you. I don't want to say I know Lucifer personally, but I've met some of his agents, some of his little puppets. And yeah, Lucifer is like the biggest loser in the known universe. He hates you also, so he is going to laugh upon you when he takes you to hell with him to be tortured for a very long time. So that pretty much wraps up what sovereign citizenship is, what is going on, and that this is a fraudulent system created by the Illuminati. And until we realize that the Illuminati exists, that they've been controlling our lives since probably 10,000 years, honestly. They've been doing it by having their Illuminati agents, their mind-controlled monarch sex slaves that they rape when they're 2 years old to create new Illuminati members. The mothers and fathers commit ritualistic incest to sacrifice their virginity, lock their consciousness into that frame of mind when they're 2 years old, and essentially you have a 2-year-old child running around who's in a 26-year-old's body, and cannot figure out that they are a complete vessel for Lucifer. And I know this is true because I've seen it firsthand. So these people, in some ways I do feel sorry for them a little bit, a little fraction, you know, because they have such miserable lives, and members of the Illuminati don't want to be members of the Illuminati. All you stupid people out there who think that you want to be members of the Illuminati, you are really stupid. Believe me, you do not want to be a member of the Illuminati. It is worse than anything you can possibly imagine. But I only have a very little amount of that feelings for them because they are pieces of shit. They are worse than criminals again. I mean, I'd rather have to deal with a gangbanger with who deals heroin than I would want to deal with these Illuminati, double-speaking, Luciferian scumbags. Because they are the most passive-aggressive people I have ever met. They are the kind of people that will backstab you when you least expect it. And that is, I think that is essentially what it comes down to, what our spiritual nature for being here is. It isn't necessarily understanding the sovereign citizenship, that we are sovereign, that we are all kings because we are Americans, that we have rights, that the judge cannot overwrite our rights, that a bailiff who allows a judge to overwrite our rights is just as culpable as the judge himself who has committed fraud, etc., etc. And that this is how tyranny works, and this is essentially the tyranny we live under, the fiat money currency system. That is the sovereign citizenship, and it is created by the Illuminati. after the Civil War, and they were the Illuminati essentially controlled the South, which is sort of ironic because now in the upcoming Civil War, the South, more or less, what you could be called the South, is more or less the good guys. Of course, I wouldn't call it the South because there's people out here in California, and there's people probably in New York as well who are going to resist the resistance. So that is essentially what's going on in the world. Tell me what you think, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and donate Bitcoins if you want to see some more of my analysis on the global political climate. Thank you very much for your attention, and cops out there, please learn how to do your job. Thank you very much. Good night.